Architectural Design Committee. It says CJ's gonna introduce it, but,
I'm happy to introduce you to the yes, sir.
what? Yes.
Sorry, just leave it.
All right, we have, where's Ante?
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Lauren Zante, and as chairman of the Architectural Design Committee, I request that no additional members be added to this committee. I sent CJ and Mr. Ross an email on April 7th addressing the subject with my recommendation, which is to keep the current committee as is and bring in subject matter experts as consultants on an as-needed basis. Most of the committee members agree with me. As you know, in January, we brought you a well-written ordinance, which was unanimously adopted with the people that are currently on the committee. Our consultant, Gary Mitchell, provides us with the information we need to make our decisions. For any engineering questions, we are fortunate to have Amy Pierce, who is also a commission member on the planning and zoning. She is a civil engineer with specialization in sustainable design and construction. Her expertise includes heavy, highway, commercial, healthcare, and technology sector. Michelle Kilbrew also gives the committee her expert advice on building codes and regulations. We are well equipped to tackle the technical issues, especially with Gary's guidance. We, the committee, received wonderful compliments from the council and city staff regarding our efficiency and team compatibility. Since December, the committee has been eager to start again, so we had a productive meeting on April 4th. The ADC is a well-oiled machine as is, and the old saying goes, if it isn't broken, don't try to fix it. I urge the city council to not add any more members to the architectural design committee, but to allow us to forge ahead with our new responsibilities. Thank you.
I was kind of wondering why, didn't they have landscaping, and donated a landscaping expert? So it might be better to have people on a consultant basis.
If I understand, and I apologize, I'm having technical difficulties, my computers gave me the blue screen of death, so we're gonna see if this comes back up. But it's, read over your shoulder. Our scope, as we go forward for expanding what this committee is gonna look at on our behalf, is regulatory standards for parking, hardscape, drainage, screening, which I would assume is landscaping, and installation, standards for installation of towers. I'm always in favor of certainly adding more volunteers. We have a wealth of people in this city who have a lot of talent, who have a lot of expertise, and I think as a council, we can't be harmed by more information as opposed to less. And I think getting our recommendations, I understand Mr. Worley is on our P&Z. He has traffic expertise. I'll let someone who's more familiar with Mr. Worley's credentials speak to that. In addition to Mr. Conlon, who is an engineer, and I know he serves in a lot of different functions for other cities. I think both of these gentlemen are willing to come forward. They've approached the city and said, hey, we want to offer our expertise, and I think that they can only be an added voice and strengthen what is already a great committee. But I think we'll get a better work product for us to evaluate coming out of that.
And Mr. Worley's on PNC, he's on, the tree committee.
Which you bring up a good point. Since we're gonna talk about landscaping, one of the things I'd like to see incorporated in this scope is we have a tree committee. And so I know that some of their discussions, I've had the chance to sit in a few of their meetings. I wouldn't want two different committees advising us on two different things. Not that they all have to have the same ideas, but when they come to those specific topics, I'd like the committee to try and organize joint sessions so that we're not both reinventing the wheel from two different committees. So if we could add that to the scope when they get to that particular topic to work hand in hand with the tree committee.
Councilmember Frank, we already have discussed that issue, and that is what we are planning on doing.
I also decided to speak to this issue.
Okay, would you like to speak now before we continue?
You can continue, but I want to speak before you vote.
Okay.
I'd like to say.
Go ahead. I was just gonna say that, the council originally formed this committee, and it had another representative from P&Z, and then it also had another member from Cross Creek Ranch. And so, looking at the issues that we issues you've discussed here today, the challenges that are faced around Randolph Elementary, it's not going to be clear cut, I believe, on decisions you're gonna make on parking. You know, I talked to Miss O'Neill, just this weekend about, you know, her candy shop. That's been a great thing for downtown Fulshear. But if we just institute parking regulations that are too onerous and too restrictive, she'll be legislated out of business, and we don't want that to happen. So I think David Worley, he serves on P and Z. He, I think, retired from the city of Sugar Land. He was their director of traffic there. I think he brings a great background for that. I know there's some concern that we're maybe losing sight of the trees and the touchy-feely side of things, but I don't see these two individuals that's coming in and trying to, you know, run over the committee with development. I think they're very responsible individuals. I talked to Michelle Killebrew, and I think William attended the last meeting. She seemed very favorable to me on him serving in that role and trying to help guide that committee and be part of that committee as well. And so I talked to Michelle yesterday while we were here during emergency operations, and so she seemed to be, didn't have any problem with it at all. So I would recommend council move forward with the ordinance as adopted and expand the, or as presented, and expand the tasks that they have before them.
Mayor, I make a resolution to approve, or make a motion to approve resolution number 2016-302, with the understanding that when we come to that particular topic, they will have joint meetings with the tree committee.
I'd like to make an amendment to that motion.
We haven't had a second yet, so do we have a second for the motion to get the thing rolling? All right,
Mayor, I would like to talk before there's any.
the motion dies for a lack of second. Would you like to make your comments now?
Yes, I would.
Let's take our public comment and then Councilmember Tristan, you're up.
I want to talk on this issue as a citizen, on behalf of all the other citizens that are here today, as well as those that aren't, and the future citizens that are looking to Fulshear who want to come here. I would preferably like to have the most qualified people on the committees that give recommendations to this council. This particular committee and the people that were being considered are highly qualified. I would even venture to say more so than some of the people already sitting on that committee. And to allow and to deny the citizens here of the most qualified people on those committees to make decisions that then are recommendations to the council, I think is outrageous for it to die for lack of a second. And what I would ask and have all of the people on this dais consider, to account to all these people here today, if you're gonna vote no or not even allow a second on a vote, to tell these people why it is you won't even allow that consideration, or why you want to vote no, because everyone here deserves the best on our committees. And that's what I'd like to say.
Thank you. Councilmember Tristan.
I do agree with what you're saying. I think these two gentlemen do bring a lot of expertise and experience. I know one of them I've worked with on the parking issues at Randolph, and he does do his research and he knows a lot about what he's talking about, and that's very admirable. I also have to take into consideration that we have a committee that has worked and done exactly what we were hoping they would do, presented within a timely manner an architect ordinance, I think in January, with 5 people, have always had 5 people. They're asking us not to change that so that they can continue moving forward. So I'm trying to take that into a balance. It sounds like Mr. Worley is already on the tree committee and planning and zoning, so I don't think that, like, he would never have any input in landscaping or anything else. Same thing with Mr. Conlon, he's working on, different things. I don't think that their expertise will fall on deaf ears. I believe that we have to take into consideration that we have a lot of commissions, we have a lot of committees. We need a lot of volunteers for a lot of different things. And when we have them that are already working well, it's like, why are we changing something that's working when they have 2 steps left in their 3-step process? The biggest part has already been done. And that's why I would like to take into consideration what has been asked by the chairman of that committee, that we don't add more people, but work with those people in different capacities, like Mrs. Krennic said, working the tree
committee with architect, but I just, it is nothing against these gentlemen. I know I've already worked with one of them and great ideas. I'm not saying that at all. I just think we have to take into consideration, they have presented us with a fantastic architect plan and they had an expert helping them the entire time. It's gone smoothly with 5 people. They're almost done. That's where I stand on, and that is why I did not second.
Mayor and Councilmember Tristan, thank you for sharing your comments, but, if I'm not reading this correctly, please tell me so. But Mr. Worley has traffic expertise and knowledge. He offered that to our P and Z. He stepped forward and offered, this is a direct, what we're asking the scope to be expanded to. It seems illogical to me to not have someone who has traffic expertise on that committee. They're not making the ordinance, they're not drafting the policy, they are making recommendations to us. We have been, as a council, set up here and said, we want experts, we want the best people, we want volunteers. It is completely disingenuous to me, and I don't take personal offense, I mean, everyone is entitled to their opinion, and I respect that, but to say we want volunteers and we want people to help us, and then we don't put them on the committees when they step forward. I think that we are shooting ourselves and we are short-sighted as a city if we don't embrace those people who step forward and say, I wanna help and participate in this process. And so with that, I will re-urge my motion to approve Resolution 2016-302, appointing these 2 gentlemen and making sure that the committee coordinates with the tree committee when they get to the landscaping issues.
Motion's been made. Do we have a second?
I'd like to make an amendment to the motion. if I may.
There's not a motion. Is there a second? Being done, it dies for lack of second.
Mayor, if you don't mind, I'd like to speak and, to respect everybody's, comments. I appreciate, as the ABC committee, I pushed for that committee for a long time. And when we got in there, we worked really hard and we, I think, created one of the best documents that, a committee has brought to this council. And we were very highly praised by this council. I think that going forward, even when we were creating that document, we even asked to take on parking and landscaping at the time because we knew issues were gonna come up with the downtown, piece of property. We weren't given those issues at that time, so now we are, given those issues and we're working on them. We just had one meeting. I think that adding more people at this time, when the committee's been really moving forward at a good pace, it could actually just clutter the room sometimes. And when you have a group that's working together and you're adding more to it, you might stall a process that I think we all would like to get on the books quickly so we can take care of those issues that will be coming to us under parking and landscaping with new development. And I think if you're adding new people, you can actually take a risk of really making this document come a lot later than sooner. And so I would urge council to vote the way they would feel pleased to, but, for myself, I thoroughly enjoy being on this committee and I really enjoy everything that work on this committee.
And just to clarify a couple of things, Mayor's first time Roberts, I believe this committee, when we voted on it, we were all in favor of it. You spearheaded it, you currently serve and vote on that committee. And when we formed it, I believe there were 7 members and 2 people dropped off. So it's the charge of the council, we wanted 7 experts, we wanted 7 people for the scope that we unanimously voted on, which did not include parking. We had the power, and we always have the power to set the scope of what we're working on. So I just want to be abundantly clear that this wasn't trying to malign the committee or pigeonhole it so they could or could not do something. We've always had the power. The 5 of us sitting up here have said, we can decide what the scope is and what the scope is not. And at that time, if we reflect back when we formed it, we wanted volunteers who stepped forward, who had expertise, who were willing to step up and serve. And I'm sorry, I can't look these people in the face, to my fellow council members, and say, I'm not gonna accept you as a volunteer, I'm not gonna let you participate, I'm not gonna let you be a voice in your city. It's just, it's wrong and it's disheartening because that's not who we are as a community.
Why don't we take different consultants on rather than add committee members?
That's because these are residents who have the who wanna step in and volunteer, as
As
opposed to spending taxpayer dollars to hire experts. These people are not gonna get paid to be on the committee, they just wanna come and participate.
Can they go as a consultant rather than a committee member?
A consultant relationship with the city would imply that we're paying them, these are volunteers.
I'm sorry, it might be a misnomer of what I'm
Right,
saying.
no,
but
I'm just,
they
yeah.
can, I mean, it's like I've recommended some people for landscaping, they would not join the committee, but when that item comes out, they will be there to use their knowledge, to volunteer their knowledge on landscaping.
And that's what these two individuals
It
are
seems
doing.
that-
Without joining the
It just
committee.
seems to
and-
me that, but if I may, I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt you. Just, we have a lot of people apply to help us in home rule charter, or in planning and zoning, or the tree committee, or the parks committee, which I'm on. We also, Mayor, you're planning to do a, zoning board of adjustments, so we submitted some names, and I'd like to see new committees actually take some fresh blood. But when the chairman of the architectural design committee, who worked very hard with her members here, and brought some really good architectural design standards to the city, I believe it passed unanimously. When she is coming here and asking the council to not add any more people, she's got all that she needs. I don't see a reason why we wouldn't apply those highly skilled people like Mr. Conlon and I think Mr. Worley that applied to something that would really be of their expertise. I'd love to have them on something like the zoning board of adjustments. What a wonderful use of their talent. I'd love to do that, but if I have a volunteer citizen here that's come to us, taking the time to put together a presentation for us to consider and saying, I've got everything I need, I just need an additional consultant, which we have been utilizing and the city is utilizing for a number of other projects. I'd like to see that done sooner rather than later. And I think I'm comfortable with the current slate if the chairman of the committee, who is a city unpaid volunteer, is doing it.
And we're not trying to say we don't want volunteers. I think it's fantastic when we have volunteers stepping up. I think we're creating positions for these volunteers when we have other vacant spots available in other commissions. That's what the council's trying to say. We have needs so many places in the city. That's where we need these two very qualified gentlemen at, not creating positions where they're not needed. And I also want to know, did we already hire a consultant? Didn't we already hire a consultant?
Ken Tees. Yeah,
Very much.
Ken Tees,
To
the collaborative.
draft the entire thing. and
Okay, so he's already been contracted, yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yes.
Kende Keys Collaborative, we actually hired them to start working with the city in 2014 to work on our comprehensive plan. And we hired them for specific qualifications they had in dealing with cities who were undergoing a high growth rate. They've done an excellent job, and I believe that contributes to the great success of our comprehensive plan to start with. And I believe it was a huge success to the architectural design committee. He has a lot of experience with architectural design and those sorts of features with zoning. However, when you get into parking and drainage, I don't think he's going to bring the same level of expertise on those subjects. He's still a great person, and I'm glad that we were able to bring him to the city and hire him for that job. But here it was requested to deal with specific topics, like parking and drainage,
And they've started.
especially in the downtown area. And these individuals could fulfill that role, seeing that your original charge that was given to the committee is lacking two individuals. One of those from P and Z, and another one that I had listed from Cross Creek Ranch.
So, Mayor Kirkendall, do you think that the 5 architect committee members cannot handle landscaping and parking? Is that what the issue is?
If they have the correct membership on the committee, and
Because I don't think any of them had an architect degree when they designed architect.
now I believe Gary
Ordinance
Mitchell's background is heavily in planning and on the architectural side. And I think he was able to bring them together and craft a document that was acceptable to this council. They had feedback from the committee, but I think Gary was able, he knew the city because he had been working with us, I don't know, for the past 2.5 or 3 years. So he I think was the key to the success of the committee. I think the committee members provide vital information, give a perspective on where the community's going. But in this case, we do have the opportunity to draw on the strengths and the talents of people from within our community who are concerned about these issues.
Mr. Conlon, are you, sorry to put you on the spot. Thank you for being here tonight, first and foremost. Can you share with the council a little bit of what you do for a living, your expertise, and why it is that you're wanting to volunteer for this position? What can you offer to the?
That's putting me on the spot a little bit.
Yeah, sorry. Talk about your qualifications.
I'm a civil engineer, stormwater drainage engineer, been doing it for 15 years. I've spent 10 years as a mud engineer dealing with all aspects of mud work, be it from finance to water plants to drainage, detention. Worked on the regional flooding issues with Tropical Storm Allison when it came through Harris County, remapped several streams, no FEMA and floodplains. I've done residential land development, I've done commercial site development. I am actually the engineer who signed and sealed the drainage study for FM 1093 extension, the West Park, all the way from 99 all the way out past Fulshear to James Lane. So my name and seal is on the drainage study for that roadway. I know the crossings as it crosses right through here, the different outfalls go through Bessie's Creek and whatnot. So I serve on Mud 172 and Cross Creek Ranch, the central third of Cross Creek. So I've got buy-in to the city, I've got buy-in to the mud. That's a little bit of my experience and background, but it's 80% drainage, 20% kind of general city service.
And are you willing to serve on this committee
Yeah.
if this council approves it?
I originally did talk with Michelle Killebrew back when, the first time I met her was the master drainage plan for Bodark and Redbird, kind of that area. I was one of the engineers that we did the site visit, we put a proposal in. Y'all picked Freeze and Nichols, great company, they've got a lot of experience out here, so they know what they're doing. So I met her that way. I've talked to her since with development stuff, working with my own pool, so dealt with her in permitting. I came to the Architecture Design Committee meeting just last month, or a couple weeks ago, and was impressed with the committee. Lori has a good group of a team. I'm not trying to come in. I was kind of, hey, this is interesting work. This has a good base to set up the city for the next 50 years. I have not had anything.
Sure, and the point being is, you know, you've explained to us, and thank you for sharing your qualifications with us, that it's, how can we not take someone who is our own resident, who wants to come and volunteer to be on this committee? He doesn't sound like he'll be a hindrance. He doesn't, I mean, no one is trying to thwart what the committee's doing. We all want this committee to move forward. I mean, how can we not put experts in our own backyard putting valuable input into what we're ultimately going to decide, which is an ordinance that will make everyone live under.
And how can we not listen to a committee that is asking us to take into consideration that they've worked very well together already for the biggest portion of this entire ordinance? How can we not take that into consideration? That's 5 other volunteers.
I can answer that. Because they are bringing their expertise. They're willing to invest their time and talent into the city, just like this individual. It's our charge as the council to tell the committee what to do. They advise us. They advise us, and we are the directors of them. Things slow down, and the reason we do that is because we form committees in any, whether you're in city government or private practice or business or schools, you form committees to gather volunteers, to synthesize information, to put all your best people on the plan, to give you recommendations, because not one of us can sit up here and say that we have expertise or individual expertise in screening, landscaping, hardscape, drainage, installation of towers, and parking and traffic. And so I just, maybe I'm missing the whole boat, but how can we not tell our residents who want to step forward and volunteer, they can't?
You know, we had, 60 applications to be on the whole charter? And I think 17 were chosen.
That's right, and we had,
no, thank you.
and we had 7 people initially on this committee. There's nothing wrong with replacing those 2, especially people who have expertise in the scope that we're expanding into. It's just disingenuous.
Compromise by not putting them on the committee and having them come in, and if you're willing to lend your knowledge, go in, when you're working on drainage, go sit in on those drainage meetings and work with them.
I'm very grateful
everybody.
to all of our volunteers that come into the city.
Councilmember Rich was speaking.
I think you just finished.
Okay.
If I may have a comment,
Councilmember Messer comes first.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I just want to say I'm very grateful to William Conlon, to all the other volunteers that stepped up. The typical process, how we get, just to educate the public, how do we pick somebody to sit on a committee? How does the council decide? So typically, the volunteer is going to fill out a form, that is a standard form, it's uploaded to the Dropbox, the city administrator or Mr. Ross upload. So we, the council, get to read that form, the application, see the willingness of our constituents to serve, and we welcome their expertise, their technical skills, and a lot of people have no technical skills, but they have the time and the willingness to take an issue forward and to make something great out of it. So I started by serving on the Parks Committee about 4 years ago when Mayor Crippendale appointed me at the Den Council. Then I started serving on the Tree Committee. I just recently resigned because I understand there's more people in the pipeline wanting to take on their role, and it's wonderful to do that. So I encourage all the citizens to actually apply, use the standard process that we have established for that, and also know that there's a number of other committees that the mayor has already started putting together, like the Zoning Board of Adjustment, which is very important, very critical for us. So I'd like to encourage everybody, I'm not saying that time is wasted, I'm saying we welcome and love the time, and we want to fill it in the slots where we actually need some volunteers to help.
I couldn't agree with Ms. Councilmember Bassett more. We absolutely need people who want to step up and volunteer. And everything she just said applies to these two individuals on this committee. And I would ask the council to please approve, I make a motion to approve resolution 2016-302, a resolution of the city of Fulshear, adding members and delineating the responsibilities of the architectural design committee.
Do we have a second? Motion dies for lack of second.
May I know, please make amendments?
I have a question, Mr. Conlon, would you be willing to fill a position that's voided on another committee?
I've already talked with both Tommy and Michelle about the zoning board of adjustments. My understanding is that committee is potentially at need, and it's once every 6 months, if that. There wasn't other
Also,
members.
the tree, I think the tree committee, we have
I have-
vacancies on.
I have no knowledge of trees, and no offense to Ms. Ridge, but that's not something I want to mess with.
But he has drainage of nothing, he has knowledge of drainage, and that's what this committee is.
And that's what Mrs.
We're here tonight to talk about the architectural design committee.
I just wanted to know where he's at. Y'all asked questions directly, so I want to know if he's willing to volunteer, he'd be willing to volunteer on open spots, not spots are completed.
How are we
I think we're missing an opportunity to take advantage of their expertise, but it's council's pleasure if you will make a motion.
I make a motion, consideration of possible action to approve resolution number 2016-302, a resolution of the city, and this would be my amendment, Grady, delineating the responsibilities of the architect design committee without adding